All right. Well, today we have an amazing guest with us coming from, you're up in New York right now, right?
Actually, I'm from New York, but I live in Delaware for 20
You're in
years.
Delaware now. Okay. Yeah, I know that you moved. Well, we have Dan Zitofsky that's with us today, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Dan several times over the last few years and coming here to some of the local RIAs and around and sharing his wealth of knowledge. So I know quite a bit about Dan's background. So he started into the New York Police Department, was a part of the 9/11, which we'll tap a little bit into. The other side, after that, you got into doing some fix and flips and real estate, and you went on a health journey. I know that part about you. That was a very big part with you. And but wanted to welcome you onto the Ernest Goes to Network podcast, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ernie. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to doing this.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, starting out, what I knew of your story is that you were in the New York Police Department, and then one of the not so great stories that you share is about the horrific time of 9/11. But so we won't dive too much into that, but just kind of wanted to, obviously that's a big part of who you were and your makeup. And then what kind of transitioned you into going into the healthier side with your health, going into the physical side, working out, doing your loss, and then kind of where you're at with the real estate. So just give us a little bit of background about those, if you will.
Sure. Well, I started real estate, believe it or not, before I was a Navy. Before I even went to the Navy, I bought my first rental property condo, and I learned. I'm gonna make this real fast because I don't want to take too much time. But I learned while I was in the Navy, making $248 every 2 weeks, making $600 on a rental. That was a lot more advantageous to me, doing nothing at the time than working in the Navy. And I was almost 19 when I went in the Navy, and then I went into hospital corps school. And this is why I lead up to it, because I learned early on at 19 years old, I love being in the bank. I love passive income, right? So back then I was under 21 years old. I couldn't go out drinking with all the other guys and girls that would go out drinking on weekends. So all I would do was work out twice a day, and I had all the rent coming in. I had these $248 checks coming in every 2 weeks. They paid for my food. I had all this money I didn't know what to do with, but these 21-year-olds that were going out drinking, they get paid and they'd eat steak dinners and drink beer all Friday and Saturday. The next week, they had no money. So all of a sudden, they came to me and I had all this money. I started lending out money at the time, right? I didn't know what I was doing, but I was lending out money. I was like, this is pretty cool. I don't do anything. I'm getting interest. So I caught the bug back at like 19, 20 years old at that point. And when I came out of the Navy, I wound up, got my college degree, and I had to go in the police department just because I had a wife and a daughter at the time. And I just wanted benefits. I wanted some security. So the police department, I was on the list for New York City Police Department. They held my list open because I was military. I went in, and while I was in the police department, I was making top pay at that time. After 5 years of service, was $49,000 a year, and I had a wife and two kids living in New York City. Right, my wife didn't work, so I had to do multiple jobs. I was in the mortgage business, I was a real estate investor, and even a substitute teacher. I did what I had to do to make it work. But real quick, within the first 2 to 3 years, I started getting to the point where I was flipping at that point over 10 properties a year, fixing flipping. I would
Yeah.
wholesale some stuff in New York. So I was flipping properties, making no less than $50,000 a property, 50 to 80 grand, and it quickly ballooned up to 30 to 50 properties a year. So I was making a lot more money in the police department flipping properties than I was being a cop.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, 9/11 happened. That was a terrible travesty. I was in building 2 of 9/11. That beat me up pretty good. Psychologically, it beat me up pretty good, right? I started everything. I never felt like a hero. I always felt like, why did I get out and everybody else didn't get out? But now after 20 years, it's finally after 20 years that I realized there's a purpose for me in this world. God had a purpose for me, and that's why I got out. But I left the police department after that. That happened in 2001, obviously. It took me till May of 2002 to actually get out of the police department because they had a vest rule in it. I could have just left, but I wanted to get something out of it. So I left in May 2002, and was flipping houses very heavy from that point on, and running a mortgage company and a private lending business. And quickly, like I said, I was doing 30 to 50 properties minimum a year. I was making 50 to 80,000 minimum on a flip, or I'd wholesale it. And the problem here's where it got bad, right? I went into the business, and people were like, why do you want to do this? I said, because I didn't want to be a police officer. I didn't want to die, get shot, go to jail, right? But I quickly got into this business because I said I wanted to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with whom I want to do it. I didn't want to answer to anybody in the job. And I was working 80 to 100 hours a week. and it's in my book, Passive to Prosperous, and it's the prosperous part, right? And I talked about this all the time. When you're transactional, we had a little talk about this right before we jumped on. When you're transactional, all you did is create another job for yourself.
Right.
So I was working 80 to 100 hours a week. At that time, now I left the police department. I had my third child, my daughter, and my kids are my life. My wife is my life. My kids are my life. And at that point, I was working so much. I was making so much money, but all I was doing was making money to, keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
I had the most beautiful, I had gorgeous house, humongous house in the country club golf course. I had beautiful cars, two gorgeous high-end cars. I have a watch collection that could choke a horse. I don't put this out there. I have boats. I was into all the things to show off, right? Because growing up, I'm not rags to riches, but I didn't have those things. I always said I'm going to be rich and I'm going to be happy. I thought rich was happy, right? And social media will get that for you, right? You see social media, everyone's putting out. You'll never see me put that stuff out there for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't believe that that's true happiness. So I still remember like it was yesterday, the argument my wife and I had, and every time I talk about it, I get goosebumps. And if she's on, when I'm on stage and I look at her, I start crying if I see her, because I thought I was the best husband and the best father in the world. And it turns out she was like, you're a terrible father. You're not a good husband. You're not here. And I'm fuming now because I'm like, I'm making all this money. I'm making multiple seven figures a year. You got all the cars you want, jewelry you want, house you want. You don't have to work. And all she broke down and says, all we wanted was you. All we wanted was you. And really, I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. I realized back then that I was doing this for myself. I was doing this for my ego. I was doing this to be selfish, right? So I had to quickly switch over and say, I don't know what else to do. I remember crumbling and falling to my knees at that point. Like, I don't know what else to do. And because this is what I know how to do to make a lot of money. What else do I do? I'm a police officer. I had a college degree. It had nothing to do. It was in healthcare management, nothing to do with what I was doing. And I know how to flip houses. I don't know what else to do. How do I make? I can't go to work a job for $50,000 a year. I can't do it.
Right.
So I started slowly getting into passive income. And I'm going to say rental properties is not truly passive income. It's more of an active passive income.
Yeah.
So I started with rental properties, and real quickly, I always tell people, $600 a month isn't as exciting as $50,000 on a flip. But when you do $600 a month, multiple hundreds of times, it gets pretty damn sexy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then I hit that, and my passive income went through the roof, right, with rental properties. But I was now once again very active in the business, right? I'm still dealing with tenants moving out. I'm dealing with property managers. I'm dealing with realtors. I'm dealing with inspectors. I'm still dealing with that stuff.
Right.
And I said, how do I do this business, right? And what happened is my private lenders were lending me all this money to do these, buy these properties, fix them up, and then do the BRRRR method. And I had a lot of, whatever reason, I get a lot of medical professionals. I have a lot of dentists, physical therapists, chiropractors that work for me.
Okay.
And inevitably, they all started asking me, well, I'm getting paid back. How do I get these for myself? Because dentists, for whatever reason, hate being dentists. They have this 10-year plan to get out of being a dentist and build a legacy for themselves.
Yeah.
So they didn't want their private money back all the time. They wanted to build a legacy for themselves. And they saw what I was doing. So I said, all right, well, I'm buying these properties. I'm buying non-performing notes, first position mortgages, or I'm buying REOs, right, from asset managers and banks. I can like fix these up and sell them to you. And I was doing that. Once again, very transactional.
Yeah.
And then I got this bright idea. I said, you know what? I said, if you guys are coming to me with $100,000 or $200,000 to buy my properties for cash, I said, how about I hold a note for you, right? Back to my Navy days. How about I hold a note for you? You put 30% down, I'll hold a note for you. You could buy 3 properties or 5 properties instead of 1. And that's where about 14 years ago, that's where my seller financing really kicked off. And from there, I've been, 90% of my business is seller finance, first position mortgage notes on turnkey rentals to investors. Think about your business owners, your doctors that aren't active in the business, that they want to build a legacy for themselves. And when I teach how to do seller financing notes, I have 5 strategies. So I get my private lenders or my money back. And generally, I tell them 12 to 18 months, but it's usually within a couple of months. I get all my money back and I stay in the deal for 30 years. And I don't have to worry about tenants, toilets, trash, termites, inspections, nothing. I can close my computer, take off all summer, sit on the boat, go to the beach, travel, do whatever I want, and I still get paid every month. So that has created the true passive income. And
Yeah.
that's why everything I do is called, passive to prosperous, right? And allows me to be involved more in now foundations. I'm very, very into different foundations right now. I go deep with them. I get to do a lot more with them. And that's brought pure happiness
Yeah.
and joy to my life, right? Because they coined me, my mentor at one point coined me the most, he goes, man, you're the most depressed millionaire I've ever met. Because I was just never happy. I was just never happy until now I get to do things live in abundance and do things for other people. And my life has allowed me to do that. So like all my trainings, all my book sales, all my speaking events, that all goes to like donations. And it allows me to do a couple things. It allows me to love what I'm doing, allows me to help others, right? And live abundantly. And those are my core values.
Yeah. So how did you so in the notes side, so kind of do a real quick brief description for people that are watching, that would be like, what is a note and how do you create it, if you will?
Okay. A note is basically a promissory note. It's a promise from you to me to pay me what we decide on negotiated terms, right? You pay me $100,000 at 9.99, 10.99, whatever the interest rate is, how many years, when it's due, what happens if it's late. So that's a note, right? So the
Right.
mortgage actually gets attached to the property, right? So the mortgage is recorded against the property. So once I have that note and that mortgage, and I have 5 legal docs, I call the power of 5 legal docs I do. So mortgage recorded, note, confession of judgment, assignment of rent, which is recorded, and personal guarantee. Once I have those docs, I have 5 and now exit strategies where I can get all my money back. I could sell my note in full. I can split the note up in a first mortgage and a second mortgage, sell one, keep the other, and stay in the deal. I could sell payments on my note, right? If I have a 30-year note, I could sell 10 payments, 20, 30, 40, 50 payments, doesn't matter, whatever we agree to. I could borrow against my note, or I can get leverage from a bank against my note. So once you have the note, you own the gold. Like, go to any city, look up in the sky at these buildings to see what's on those buildings. You're not going to see a real estate company. You're going to see a bank name on it,
Right.
right? Once you learn how to be the bank, life changes, right? Once you learn arbitrage and how to be the bank, life changes. So when we do this, why it's so important, especially today, whenever somebody listens, right now it's 2024 today. I don't know when somebody's going to listen to this, but today there's a problem, right? A lot of investors are having issues finding deals that make sense.
Deals and finding money. Always.
Find the money. I don't know. I think that's the easiest thing in the world, right? I mean, I teach how to raise private money, so I think it's so easy to raise private money.
Yeah.
It's just the problem. Most people don't know how to put together a private lender presentation. Most people don't know how to actually bring deals to protect their investors. Most people are looking to, I said mule out their private lenders. They're not looking out for them. Okay, so it's not hard to believe it. It's not hard. I know some people say it. I've raised $30 million in new money and used it in $400 million velocity. My issue is not money. My issue is quality deals, right? So, and once you do that, you'll have your private lenders ask you how to get involved in your deals a lot more because you're looking out for them rather than yourself.
Yeah.
And I've not paid a private lender back. So you always got to look out for your private lenders, right?
Yeah.
So that's the important thing. And you have to set yourself up because in this industry, right, there's going to be ebbs and flows. And I'm doing this 34 years. I'm doing it since 1990. 34 years, I've been through a few market cycles, and I've seen this happen before. And back in 2007 through 10, I was very equity rich and cash poor. At that point, I had the opportunity to buy assets at 20, 30 cents on the dollar. I'm talking about multifamilies.
Yeah.
And that's coming again. So I said, you better get yourself in order and learn how to raise private money or start cashing up because you're going to have the ability to do it again. There's going to be tremendous transfer of wealth. And the problem is everybody wants to get rich quick. Everyone wants easy, right? Nobody wants to build a business. So what I always try to teach people is build a business, build something, a foundation that you could stay no matter what the market's like. See, I don't care what the market does. It goes up, better for me.
Yeah.
Because when it went down, what happened? Everyone was paying off my seller finance notes.
Yep.
Everybody was paying me off when they were getting interest rates at 3%.
Yeah.
Now nobody's paying me off. That's great. I don't want to be paid off.
Yeah.
So now I implemented something in my notes where I don't get paid off. But you control your own. When the market controls you, you don't have a business. You don't have any kind of investment, right? You just created a job for yourself,
Yeah.
a higher paying job. So I always recommend, and if I could give one piece of recommendation, right, one golden nugget on this podcast right now, it's create your vision right now. What do you want your vision and life to look like?
Yeah.
If money and time was not an object, what would life look like? And I'm not talking about the exorbitant, I want private jets and I want boats. What is the first step? Where is first base for you? At what point do you say, I can let the stress down. No matter what happens, I'm okay. What does that look like for you? Work backwards and stop letting the tail chase the dog, right? Stop worrying about the multis that everyone's talking about, which I sold all of them in 2019. Stop worrying about what everybody's hot button is and crypto and now these online stores and stay late. Everyone asks me, what are you doing? I said, I'm the most boring guy in the world. I do the same thing over and over again. I've been doing it for years. Now we're building condos in Roatan. Why? Because I'm going to create seller financing notes for them, right? But you create quality projects that you create your own note. If there aren't deals out there, create your own deals, right? Buy these assets and create a note. Now, I used to buy non-performing notes left and right from asset managers and banks. And you know what? Now they're charging ridiculous prices because all the new people that came in the industry. So I don't buy them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I buy houses, and those houses I create into notes. It's a
Right.
lot easier for me because I get in the house day one. I don't have to worry about foreclosures, evictions, assignments, scratch and dent paperwork. So don't let the market dictate you. You dictate the market according to your vision
Right.
and work backwards. Just figure out what your vision is and work backwards. And understand that it does go pretty quick, but there is no get rich quick in this business. I don't care who's selling you what. I've never mentored anyone and said get rich quick. I'll show you the right way. And if you stay consistent, you'll get there. It's funny because I'm going to say this and I'll go back to you, but I have a lot of people that have bought one property, right? I sold them one turnkey rental property. It's doing well. Then they're like, oh, it went up. I'm going to sell it. And I'm like, okay, let me ask you this question. You're going to sell it and you're going to make $50,000 and you're going to pay tax on the money, long-term capital gains.
Yep.
So you might pay 20%, 30% taxes. You have the money. What are you going to do with it? I just had somebody recently say, well, I want my wife not to have to work this year or so. That'll be extra money. I said, so what happens next year? I said, do you understand that every time you buy a property, it's not for get rich today. It's for build wealth and a legacy for the
Yes.
future.
Yes.
Right. And if you understand, if you stick, nobody sticks to the path. That's the problem. People like tell me all the time, they
They
try
see
to
the
tell you,
larger sums and they're like, oh, I can get $50,000 now. I got a few
right,
properties like that as well, right? So it's like you get, you either have it paid off and it's like, all right, well, do I want to scale more? So do I go do the Burr method on it? Do what do you do? Create a note, pull some equity out and go buy some other ones. But it's like, I can't tell you how many times I've killed a golden goose by going out and selling it, doing the flip. Like I should have kept, oh geez, at this particular point,
well,
you know, three
I'll
quarters
tell,
of the ones we did.
I'll tell you this, Ernie. People ask me what's my biggest regret every time I'm on stage. That's one of the questions I get if I happen to do a panel. Usually I'm like one of the keynote speakers. But if I get a panel, they say, what was one of your biggest regrets if you could start all over again? I've done over 4,000 transactions.
Nice.
My cheapest note is for $480 something, but most of my notes are from the 600 range to $3,200 range. I said, just do this. Let's go low. Get your calculator out right now. Take 4,000 times $600 only a month. Let's say that's all I get. Multiply by 12. Look how much money I make a month. Look how much money I make a year. And would not have to worry about tenants, toilets, or trash.
Yeah.
Right. So do I have that kind of money monthly now? Absolutely not. That's my biggest regret. Right. And it happens quick. It happens quick. I own right now over 430 seller finance notes. I should have over 4,000 seller finance notes. Right.
Yeah.
400. So I have over 600 assets, 200 plus are rentals. I have 431 seller finance notes as of today's date. Now they go up and down. Now you have a note. You need money. I will beat a wholesaler or a flipper every day of the week. How much money I pull out of it, because I have 5 strategies. I could sell off part of that note, get cash.
Yeah.
I could leverage part of that note. I could borrow against that note. I can get it's an ATM card. It's the most powerful thing in the industry, but people don't want to use it. They want to sell like you said, sell the golden goose.
Yeah.
Don't ever sell that golden goose.
No.
Let that golden goose be an ATM card where you can keep cashing out of it as you need it. But if you don't need it, keep collecting payments.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the hardest lesson for me. Like I was in that mindset of just putting the blinders on, doing the fix and flips, that was kind of always. And then it got to the moment where I took some of that cash that would come out, I'd reinvest it and buy some properties with it. And, then that started accumulating those. But at the same side is like, I wasn't, I grew a team because that's what you're supposed to do. And then the team kind of failed. And then, and the reason is because I was pointing fingers that the team failed. And it was really, when you really dive down into it, is I that failed them because I didn't put the processes in place, and I kind of was leaning on them to be their type of professional people. And it's just you go through those hurdles and things, but to your point earlier in the conversation, you know, it's always you're looking for the next deal, you're looking for the next money, and there's always kind of that side to it. And then it was like you're always trying to flip it. So you're creating that job for yourself. And it's really like, no, I'm okay with a long-term play, right? The real estate side, like you're not get rich fast. But it's doing it with the methodology behind it of like, how do I not have to be boots on the ground, out on the job sites all the time, like, seeing all these things happen when, you could do the notes or you could do these other more passive items where you can do it remotely these days, right?
Yeah. And you have to create it for yourself. And once again, if you create that vision, right? You talk about all these teams, right? And I've had a team of 52 people in the past. I don't want a team, right? I do not want a team at all. My team is professionals, right? Your lawyers, your accountants, right? I project manager, right? I have property managers, bookkeepers. That's my team. I don't
Yeah.
have a staff. And I felt, and I'm terrible with a team. I really am. I felt like I was working my butt off to support a team, right? So all I did was create this massive, massive business. And once again, I wanted to tell people how big I was, how many deals I was doing, but I wasn't putting money in the bank. I'd make 100 grand a month, and I wasn't putting money in the bank. I was putting that in the bank so I could pay everybody else,
Yeah.
so I could beat my chest and talk about how great. And then really, my mentor really broke it down and said at the time back in the day, he's like, "Well, why?" I was miserable. He's like, "Well, what are you doing this for?" And I really kept saying, because I refused to work for somebody else. And he goes, "Do you realize?" We broke it down. Do you realize if I worked for somebody else and didn't have any responsibilities, I'd take home more money. So really, what was it? And I'd have more time. So my thing was I had to figure out what my vision was. And that's what I really want people to figure out. What is your vision? What are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And every time I ask people why they're doing this, they give me almost the same answer as I've had. It's because I don't want to work for someone else. I want to build something big. I want to do this. But when you break it down, are you really doing that? No. So create what you want, work backwards, figure out how many deals you need to live the life you want to live, how many deals that takes, how much money you need for those deals, and then put it in place. It's really not that hard. It's not a
Yeah.
get rich quick. But if you need to make if you need to make $6,000 a month and you only make 600 a deal, that's 10 deals. How do you get 10 deals? I talk to these wholesalers that are wholesaling 50, 100 deals a year. I said, imagine you just took 10 of those. Imagine you took 10. And
Yeah.
how about this on a wholesale? How about when I do my note, I could pull 20, 30,000 out of every note. That's 300,000 in my pocket, plus $600 a deal, or $800, or $3,200 a deal,
So
right? But there's
are you finding most of those opportunities coming through like a seller finance on the seller side situation, and then you're kind of creating the note, or are you guys going in and buying the property and then creating the note to
we
sell off?
Yeah, we buy the property. I don't do wraps ever. I never do wraps. Let somebody else teach that. I mean, I would only buy like a subject to deal if I'm going to keep it myself. I do not trust anybody else paying that mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So you'll never see me do a wrap ever. I will never teach it. I won't do a wrap ever.
Yeah.
I did bring a couple subject to experts on, and I did a little course on it for them just to give it out and donate the money to their charity. But for me, it's either buy the first position mortgage because I want the property. I'm only going to buy a note on a property I want to own. Buy an REO from the banks. Buy direct from a wholesaler. I've just recently purchased a couple deals from a realtor. Buy direct from the seller. I like getting the property, right? A lot of note investors never want the property. I only buy a note on a property I'm willing to own. That's my rule. I don't care how much I can make. If I don't want to own that property, I don't buy the note.
Yeah.
I stop
So then
chasing
all
money.
you're doing is you're placing your investor in position to essentially pay the monthly note, take care of the property, and all you're doing is just making your money back off of that particular note, the
Well,
payments.
I buy the property, I get it fully rehabbed, like a high-end rehab. I
Mhm.
get it rented out, get it managed. Then I sell it to a turnkey buyer, and I take 30% down and I put them on a 30-year note and a 10-year balloon. So when I take the down payment and I get the note, I could either split the first and second and sell the second, get all the money back and keep the
Yeah.
first, or I could sell the whole first. Now I'm in a position where I teach it differently because we have so much passive income coming in. I just take the down payment, keep the first, and that's it. And I keep it for myself. But when I bring private money in, and if I have to pay my private lender back right away, I'll carve the note out of the first and second, sell the second, keep the first, and I stay in the second. So I might have a second at 10.99 or 11.99%. I raise capital at 6 to 8% interest only. So
Yeah.
I'll bring an IRA investor in, 401k investor in, Coverdell Health Savings Account investor in 7%, and I'll get the other 4% on the second, then I'll keep the whole first, and they get their money back. And I might put 10, 20,000 in my pocket on that, and then stay in the 60 or 70,000 note for 30 years. I just don't understand why. I've had wholesalers who are out there teaching this stuff
Yeah.
hit me up and say, Dan, can we work together? I said, sure, we'll joint venture together. And they're still wholesaling deals for $10,000, $20,000.
Yeah, just
Like,
because
I
they
don't,
want the cash.
they are so limited thinking.
Mhm.
And if
But
you do
that's
this,
the thing, though, is like you don't know what you don't know, right?
but I know, but I've taught this to them. I get on the phone, I taught this. They claim they want passive income, but they still go out and they wholesale deals.
Yeah.
Right. Just I teach exactly the type of deals this works perfect for. The home run deals this works perfect for. It's like anything else, right? You're a buyer. You work with wholesalers. Don't you tell your wholesalers what your buy box is?
Absolutely.
So I'm giving them a checkbook. I'm like, go out and bring me these deals. We'll do them together. Some of my old students, and I don't do one-on-one students anymore, but some of my old students would do that, and they still get paid every month for years already. They might get $10,000, $20,000 at the close of a deal and still get paid a few $100s a month for doing deals instead of wholesaling.
Excellent.
So I hope that this gets out. I hope I'm so happy to do this podcast because I know you got a good following, and I'm hoping people listen to this and they just open their eyes to what's possible out there.
Yeah. So where's a good you had mentioned your book, and I know I have it right here on my back shelf, but where's they can get it on Amazon, and what was the name of it again?
I think go on Amazon, the Passive to Prosperous, and they got a
Passive
copy
to
of the book
Prosperous.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I know.
And you know what, for the group, if I can give them I could probably give them when I speak, I give out a free cheat sheet. If you want to give them a free cheat sheet on this, I could do that as well.
Yeah, we
They
can
could
put
just
that in the link of it.
it's easy to they could just type in, either the phone number, text the phone number. We don't sell any names or anything like that. We just want to, when I'm on stage, I can't give away a few hundred of these. So it's just
Right.
easier. Either they text or they go online, but if they text seller financing, so seller financing to 888-503-4061. It's again 888-503-4061. Just type in seller financing. You'll get my cheat sheet on how to become the bank, just exactly what we talked about. And that'll help. And if they want, to get a copy of the book, the easiest thing to do is same thing I do is they could type in the word passive, PASSIVE, to the same phone number, 888-503-4061, and they'll get a copy of the book. Once again, I'm not selling. Well, the book is for sale. The book goes to donation, goes to Amazon, and then the rest is donated. Right now, it's going to Chair to Love with Ogie Bailat. I'm trying to get 10,000 wheelchairs by December 2027. But the cheat sheet is free. It's got a wealth of information. My book lays out my why, my vision, everything on how I raise money, how I set up my deals. So it gives you good groundwork on how to do that. I just like to give stuff out, and obviously I have online training stuff. That's a little bit more of an investment, but they learn everything. I don't want to be here selling that, but I want to give stuff out that they could actually take. If they take action, they could really learn how to do this. And I'm just hoping to open people's eyes and minds to what's out there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be transactional if you really don't want to. Now, if you want to be transactional, because say you want to go buy that Ferrari and put it on Facebook, you can do that. You'll be able to do that with what I teach you.
Yeah.
I just rather not be transactional right now. I'd rather, make $600 to $3,200 over 400 times a month doing nothing. So
yeah,
that's just my vision.
No, that's fantastic, and that's a huge wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate all of that. And so again, 888-503-4061. Text seller financing to get your spreadsheet there, or text passive for your book.
Yep, nice and easy. Nice and easy.
Like it. Yeah, so is there obviously online it's Dan Zitofsky. I think you're on, that's how you are with Facebook and Instagram and all that, correct?
Yeah, and my group page has become a real estate investor with Dan Zitofsky. But you can follow me personally. Unfortunately, I can't accept more friends because I keep hitting that 5,000 number.
Keep hitting the
so but you can follow me. You're able to follow me. So I got that going. So You can follow me on Facebook personally, Dan Zitofsky, or Instagram. But you can go to my group page, become a real estate investor with Dan Zitofsky. Answer the questions to get in. I look at those because I want to see how I can help you. We just looked, and I think like 81% of the people said their biggest need was private money. So then we start putting stuff out in our. I know we're doing a webinar. We just did a webinar last week. We're doing a webinar again in September. This one's going to be on how to raise private money. So you can pay attention to that. I give out a lot of content on that stuff, a lot of free content on that. I just love teaching people, helping people, and I love when people take action, right, on what we teach them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Dan, I appreciate your time coming on and doing the podcast with us today. And thanks for the wealth of knowledge. And of course, in the short time that we've been here, we can't hit on everything, but ideally, everything is to be able to kind of draw people to you and be able to understand your network and how you operate. So if there's anything you need from us, just let us know. But again, thank you for being on the podcast, and we look forward to seeing you here shortly, and then having you back on maybe as a follow up, down the road here.
I'd love to. I'd love to. I'd love to help the your followers and your audience, and it's an honor to be on here. Thanks for having me, Ernie.
Absolutely, thank you.
Take care.